So in the last class, we discussed about attenuation, that is a decay in the transmitted optical power by the time it will reach the receiver. So two types of attenuations, sorry, two factors are accounted for the attenuation there, that what we discussed the last class. One is wait, some background noise is coming. So wait for a few moments. So this announcing is happening there. Yes. uh, you just wait, so that vehicle will go with the music. Well, we'll get back to this discussion. So in the last class, we were discussing about the two factors which are causing the attenuation. One is because of the absorption, and that is mainly concerned with the material composition or fabrication process. Another one, another factor responsible for the attenuation is scattering, that is concerned with the structural deformation. So these two aspects we are going to see in detail today. That is absorption. Again, in absorption, there are two types are there: extrinsic and intrinsic absorption. And after this absorption, we'll see scattering loss. Again, there are two versions: linear scattering and non-linear scattering losses. So these two aspects: absorption, two types; scattering losses, two types, we can see in detail today. Absorption loss are again subdivided into two types: extrinsic and intrinsic. As we all know that the fiber is actually made up of, while we were discussing about the fiber materials, so two widely used materials are glass and fiber. And moreover, various combinations of the silica compounds like germanium, bromium, silicon dioxide, or nitride are used in different combinations to achieve different refractive indices to support different types of the modes, maybe in the core or cladding. So because of this uh, variety of composition, we'll come across two kind of things here. So whenever you deal with any material, we look into in terms of the atomic level. There we'll see two types of things. One is electronic transitions and another one is a charge transitions. Electronic transitions are dynamic charges which are moving from one to another energy levels, and charge transitions are the static charges which are moving are concerned with the ion movement. Ions are static. So this is main cause for the extrinsic absorption. One is electronic transitions happening between the energy levels. Another one is the charge transitions concerned with the ionic transitions. So the major percentage of attenuation is from the transition of metal impurity ions like iron, chromium, cobalt, and copper. So extrinsic absorption, what is telling, is mainly concerned with the main contribution is happening from the metallic ions like iron, chromium, cobalt, or copper, which actually account for 1 to 10 decibels of losses for every 1 kilometer. And this can be reduced by adding the metallic impurities like glass refining techniques. Okay, so these metallic impurities can be reduced by glass refining techniques. But when you can use the glass refining techniques, this in turn comes with some drawbacks. That will become another cause for the extrinsic loss, that is caused by the absorption of hydroxyl ions which are actually dissolved in the glass. So this happen maybe during, if you are going to manufacture the optical fiber using the glass, or if you are using the glass refining technique. So this will we come across. the absorption of the hydroxyl ions. So three main causes are there for the extrinsic absorption. You remember, one, electron transitions happening between the energy levels. Another one, charge transitions concerned with the ionic transitions. Most of the ion transitions are contributed by the metallic impurities like iron, chromium, cobalt, and copper, because which actually accounts for 1 to 10 decibels of losses for every 1 kilometer. And this can be reduced by using glass refining technique, which in turn accounts for the absorption of hydroxyl ions because of the impurities dissolved in the glass. So the absorption peaks are absorbed at, you can see if you look at this graph, are occurring at 750 nanometer, 950 nanometer, and 1400 nanometers. If you draw a graph of attenuation in terms of decibels per kilometer along the y-axis with the wavelength in terms of nanometer along the x-axis, so there you can see the absorption peaks are happening at 1400, so 750 nanometer, 950 nanometer, and 1400 nanometers. Except at these peaks, at remaining portions of this graph, the attenuation is going to be minimum compared to these peaks. Okay. So these peaks are mainly concerned with the absorption spectrum of the hydroxyl group in silica. With respect to silica compound, we are doing this. We got some readings and drawn this one with respect to silica only. And three peaks are showing the maximum absorption we are observing at 750, 950, and 1400 nanometer wavelength due to absorption of the hydroxyl ions. That is happening because of the impurity dissolved in the glass. Okay, this is one just an example. So this is all about extrinsic absorption, that what we are observing. Electronic transition, charge transition, that is ionic transition, and hydroxyl ion absorption. Three main causes for the extrinsic absorption. So next we'll go with intrinsic absorption. That is going to put a fundamental limit, a lower limit on the absorption of any particular material. So this is mainly concerned, this is inherent to any fiber optic material that has been used to manufacture it. That's why it is called intrinsic absorption. Intrinsic absorption, as we have seen extrinsic, which is caused by the electronic transition, ionic transitions, and hydroxyl ionic absorptions. Here also, we have some factors responsible for the intrinsic absorption, like mainly concerned with the UV region and IR region. Because we know that UV region and IR region are coming under the light band or optical band, and each of these UV and IR regions have some specific bands of the opticals. Electronic absorptions will occur in the bands concerned to UV region, and atomic vibration bands are there in the near infrared region, which are mainly responsible for the intrinsic absorption. Let us see how. The electronic absorption bands, which are there in the UV band, UV region, are mainly concerned with the band gaps of amorphous glass materials. Absorption occurs in these regions, electronic absorption bands in the UV region. Here absorption occurs when the photon of the light interacts with the electron in the valence band. In the valence band of these electronic absorption bands. They named as electronic absorption bands, those are valence bands, which are responsible where the photon coming from the light going to interact with the valence band and excite it to the next higher energy level. So that's why these bands are known as electronic absorption bands in the UV region. And this UV absorption decays with the increase in the wavelength. You can see as the wavelength will go on increasing, you can see this is the triplet graph here. We are plotting the wavelength parallel to the x-axis, that is the photon energy in the electron volt along the x-axis. Parallel to that, we also have another unit there, that is the wavelength in terms of micrometer. Depending on the interpretation, you can view this x-axis as a photon energy or wavelength. And along y-axis, we have loss in terms of decibels per kilometer. In that, you can see the UV absorption. It is exponentially decreasing from 100 decibels per kilometer at zero wavelength, zero micrometer to zero, almost zero decibels per kilometer, around 8 micrometer wavelength. So this is the characteristics feature of the UV electronic absorption bands, how it is going to decrease exponentially with increasing the wavelength. So this is why it is happening in the UV region. So whenever the photon from the light interacts with the electron in the valence band, that is electronic absorption band of the UV region, it excites that electron to the higher energy level. Means that energy is absorbed in exciting that electron to the higher energy level in the UV region. That's what is known as the UV absorption, and that decays from 0 micrometer to the up to 8 micrometer exponentially. It becomes zero about 8 micrometer, and it will be at a maximum level of 100 decibels per kilometer at 0 micrometer wavelength. And you can also see the photon energy is also goes on decreasing. Photon energy means that is responsible. That is the photon energy what we are getting. The photon is liberated when photon strikes the electron in the valence band of the UV region and causing that electron to jump to the higher energy level. That is liberating some photon energy. That is also goes on decreasing because the absorption is goes on decreasing here. Loss is reducing. So what we can infer for this one is that it is better to operate your optical fiber between 5 to 8 micrometer wavelength to have this electronic absorption bands in the UV region to be minimized. Similarly, we have got another one, that is IR absorption, that happens also because of the interaction between the, it's not because of the photon, now it is because of the E and H field components of the optical signal and bands of the IR region. Try to understand here the difference between the UV region absorption and IR region absorption. UV region absorption mainly concerned with the interaction between the photon and the valence bands of the UV region, whereas IR region, near infrared region, concerned with the interaction between not photons, but instead it is between electric and magnetic field components and the vibrating bands of the IR region. That actually results in the transfer of energy from the field to the band. Okay, whatever the energy is there, no, in the electric and magnetic field components, so that energy or information is lost because of the transfer of the energy from those field components, that is from the IR region to the bands, thereby giving rise to the absorption. And it is much stronger because of many bands or bonds present, bands present in the fiber. So you can see IR absorption, there is no any exponential decrease. Between 4 to 5 micrometer wavelength, suppose if you are operating, your IR absorption is maximum. And it is decreasing by very much little amount. Okay. So this is the one spectra, attenuation spectra, what we are observing, showing you the picture of intrinsic loss mechanism in pure germanium. Okay. So try to describe the graph of what you are looking here. This is the graph mainly concerned with the pure germanium. And this, the extrinsic absorption we have explained with respect to the this particular graph, explaining the characteristics of the hydroxyl group in silica with respect to silica. So this graph concerned with the silica, and that is with respect to extrinsic absorption, and intrinsic absorption mainly concerned with pure germanium. So you have to tell answers specifically what these graphs mean for, and later we can, with the reference of those graphs, we can explain extrinsic and intrinsic absorption concepts. So these are the two types of absorption losses what we have seen. Extrinsic absorption mainly concerned with electronic transitions and ionic transitions that we have explained with respect to the silica graph. Obtained three peak absorptions happening at 750, 950 and 1400 nanometer wavelengths with respect to silica graph. Whereas intrinsic absorption concerned with UV region bands and IR region bands, both are differentiable with respect to one main concept. In UV region absorption, it is happening because of the interaction between the photons and the valence bands of the UV region. Whereas IR region, the absorption is happening because of the transfer of energy or interaction between the bands of IR region and the field components. While doing so, the energy transferred from the field components to the band, and this happens to be much larger than the UV region absorption because of the many bands involved in the fiber that we have explained with respect to the pure germanium intrinsic loss mechanism graph. Next we'll start with, so that is all about the absorption. That is one factor that what we discussed, mainly responsible for the attenuation or the decrease of the transmitted optical power, that what we discussed in the last class. Another second factor that is responsible for the attenuation will be the scattering, that we yesterday took the name of Rayleigh scattering, that is coming under linear scattering loss. So again there are two types or two versions are there under scattering losses. One is a linear scattering loss and second one is a non-linear scattering loss. So whatever it is, the scattering loss is concerned with the structural deformation of the optical fiber. Your absorption, just now you have seen, it is concerned with the composition of the material and the fabrication process, manufacturing process. Whereas scattering is concerned with the structural deformation, structure of the optical fiber. Okay. So the scattering losses exist in the fibers because of macroscopic variations in the material density. So these two terms are important: material density and composition. Small variations in the material density and composition. That's what it is telling, mainly responsible for the scattering losses. Because the glass, we know that it is a lattice structure with a randomly connected network of molecules and many oxides like silicon dioxide, germanium dioxide, and potassium pentoxide. But these are connected randomly. Because of this random nature of connection of these molecules and oxides will become the major cause for the compositional structure fluctuation. That's what I am telling. Structural deformation. Structural deformation is not actually, it is visible toward bare eyes. It is inherent. We are looking at the molecular level, microscopic variations because of the randomly connected molecules and several oxides of the fiber material. So two effects will cause, like, results to variation in the refractive index and relay type of scattering. So because of this randomly connected nature of the molecules and oxides will give rise to two effects. One is a sudden variation in the refractive index. Maybe it is happening in the core or maybe the cladding where you are using this kind of a material, and relay type of scattering of light. Let us see what is the relay type of scattering. It happens due to small localized changes in the refractive index of the core and cladding material. I have told it may be happening in the core or cladding, and there will be a sudden variation in the refractive index, and it is not happening throughout the cross sectional area or the length of the core or the cladding where it is happening. What is telling it, this word is important. Small localized changes. These surrender variations in the refractive index is concerned with the small localized regions in the core or cladding. So two causes during the manufacturing fiber will be responsible for this relay scattering. The first one is due to slight fluctuation in the mixing of ingredients. Slight fluctuation in the mixing of ingredients because while discussing the fiber materials, we came across that you can see here many several oxides, their combinations we are using to achieve different refractive index that is desirable, maybe simplex or graded. Sometimes you want fixed refractive index for the core, and sometimes you want variable refractive index for the fiber, that is a graded refractive index. So because of that reason we are going for the combination of these oxides, there is a mixing of ingredients. So while doing so, there will be some slight fluctuation will be there. The random changes their because of this are impossible to eliminate completely. That is not possible to eliminate because some fluctuations will happen. Mixing of ingredients is not going to be properly done. That is happening manually or maybe automatic. So even if it is machine, it is not ideally correct. So other cause is a slight change in the density of silica as it cools and solidifies. That is a fabrication process it comes. Because these are the naturally things, these things are happening naturally. Slight change in the density, of course the density will change. And the silica, it will change from liquid to solid. When it cools, density will automatically changes during the fabrication process. In that light, there is a change in the density. So these are the two main causes for the microscopic variations which are causing sudden variation in the refractive index which are localized. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತೈತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಆಗಿರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಷ್ಟೇ sudden refractive index change ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ, which are called localized changes in the refractive index, maybe in the core or the cladding. So when the light ray strikes at such zones, localized zones, it gets scattered in all directions. And this amount of scattering depends on the size of discontinuity compared with the light wavelength of the light. Okay. So graphically, if you are saying that this scattering of a relay scattering depends on the wavelength, let us see the relationship here. It will goes on decreasing. So that's why if you are operating the optical fiber in the with the larger wavelength, then we can have reduced scattering loss. So this can be given in the formula. No derivation is there. Remember, you have to remember these formulas as it is. They are now visible with these constants. So scattering loss with respect to single component is given by 8 pi q by 3 lambda 4 to the power 4 into bracket n square minus 1 to the whole square kb tf beta t in APS. And the scattering loss with respect to multi-component glasses is given by 8 pi q by 3 lambda to the power 4 dou n square to the power again that is to the power 4 dou v. Their constants you will get or will see when we are going to deal with the problems. So multimode fibers have high dopant concentrations and will achieve higher fluctuations. So overall losses are more here in multi-component glasses compared to single component glass. So this is all about the Rayleigh scattering loss. That is mainly caused by two things. One is because of the fluctuation in the mixing of ingredients, and another one change in density of the silica when it solidifies. This results into the localized changes in the refractive index in the core or cladding, resulting into the Rayleigh scattering of the light that is going to decrease with increase in the wavelength. And it is governed by the single and multi-component classes, these formulas. There is another type of linear scattering known as a Maya's scattering, occurs due to inhomogeneities or imperfections in the fiber's geometry or irregularities in the refractive index due to the presence of the bubbles during manufacturing process. So by carefully controlling the manufacturing process, we can minimize this Maya's scattering. So remember, there are two types of linear scattering losses we have discussed so far: Rayleigh scattering loss and Maya's scattering. Okay, we have discussed so far two types of absorption: extrinsic absorption, sorry, with respect to loss characteristics of the germanium graph. Intrinsic absorption we have discussed with respect to the silica absorption loss characteristics. And next we have gone with the discussion of the linear scattering. There we came across two types again: related scattering loss and Mayer scattering loss. And the next one we are discussing nonlinear scattering losses. We know that the optical waveguides are not going to behave completely linear channels. They are not acting completely like a linear channels because of some non-linear effects. Sorry. So this is because the optical fibers are meant to support one mode or more than one modes. And when you are going to manufacture the optical fiber to support multiple modes, then obviously your manufacturing process and fabrication process to support the multiple modes will be different. This is going to give rise to non-linear scattering aspect. Let us see what are those causes. Non-linear scattering causes optical power from one mode to be transferred to the other, either in the forward direction or the backward direction at different frequencies. In the optical fiber, I'm telling you, non-linear scattering means it is not concerned with the scattering at the localized regions in the core or the cladding. It is concerned with the transfer of the optical power from one to another mode, maybe in the forward direction, that is from transmitter to the receiver, or maybe in the backward direction from the receiver to transmitter direction at different frequencies. This results into the loss. This results into the loss, and it mainly critically depends on optical power density within the fiber. And accordingly, we have two types of non-linear scattering. One is SBS, that is stimulated Brillouin scattering, and another one is Stimulated Raman scattering, SRS. Stimulated Brillouin scattering, it is mainly concerned with the modulation of light through thermal molecular vibrations within the fiber. You try to understand these words here. Already we are sending intensity modulated light which has been coupled from your modulator at the transmitter to the optical fiber. That is your communication channel running all the way from transmitter to the receiver. What is there? Intensity modulated wave is there. Again, this light, kind of light, intensity modulated light, is undergoing modulation of light through or because of thermal molecular vibrations within the fiber. Some molecular vibrations are happening within the fiber because of the thermal agitation, thermal reaction, rise in temperature. They are resulting into the remodulation of this intensity modulated light once again. That is actually known as stimulated Brillouin scattering, named after one person. Such a scattered light appears as upper or lower side bands, which are separated by the incident light, your incidentally modulated light, by the modulation frequency. Your modulation frequency is going to separate your intensity modulated light into two side bands, upper side band and lower side bands. Why? This is happening because of the rise in temperature results into the increase in vibration of molecules inside the fiber that results into separation of intensity modulated wave into upper and lower side bands separated by the your intensity modulated light itself, that is by the modulation frequency. That is incident photon in this scattering process produces a phonon. That is another name they are using, as well as scattered photon. Okay. Actual process ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ you try to understand the whole mechanism here in SBS. ಯಾವಾಗ intensity modulated light optical fiber core ನೇ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ, it is propagating normally. ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಮ್ಮೆ SBS ಆಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಿಂಗೆ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತೈತಿ after traveling some distance. Okay, at certain reasons, because of the rise in temperature inside the optical fiber, molecular vibrations increase ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಅದೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೈತಿ, ಇದೇನು ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್, ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಯುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಬರ್ತಿರ್ತೈತಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಪಗೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ತೈತಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೈತಿ. ಯಾವ್ದು ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೈತಿ? ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಯುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಲೈಟ್, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಯುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಿರ್ತಾವ? ಫೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾವ. Now those photons are already intensity modulated. ಅವು photons ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾವ? Because of increase in molecular vibrations in the fiber due to thermal agitation, those photons will divide your incident, that is intensity modulated light, into upper and lower side bands containing now photons, now phonons and scattered phonons. So scattered photon means intensity modulated wave ಒಳಗೆ ಏನು photons ಇದ್ದು, which are now converted into phonons due to scattering process and scattered photons. Okay, how we are getting the phonons and scattered photons from the photons in the intensity modulated light. Intensity modulated light is once again remodulated or converted into upper and lower side bands and separated by this intensity modulated light by the modulation frequency, thus resulting into your incident photon into the phonon and scattered photons. This frequency shift is maximum in the backward direction and zero in the forward axis. That's why SBS is known as a backward process. And this produces optical frequency shift in the backward direction with the scattering angle that is given by with the threshold power Pb 4.4 into 10 to the power minus 3 d square, that is a d is the core diameter, lambda square the operating wavelength of the light, into alpha dB, that is the attenuation constant, into V the bandwidth of the optical wavelength that is measured in terms of the watts. So SBS we came to know that how it is happening, the whole mechanism. Intensity modulated light is converted into SBS, that is upper and lower side bands, separated by intensity modulated light itself, that is the modulating frequency, that is happening more in the backward direction and resulting your SBS mainly into a backward process. This results into conversion of photons into phonons and scattered photons. Understanding? This is very key points I'm going to ask in the quizzes. Next one, stimulated Raman scattering. So SRS is similar to SBS except that a high frequency optical phonon rather than acoustic phonon is generated in the scattering process. So during this SRS, only high frequency phonon is generated, and this occurs in both directions, forward and backward. And power threshold is 3 times more than that of the SBS and is given by 5.9 10 to the power minus 2 d square lambda alpha dB watts. Let us quickly go through one simple problem. A long single mode optical fiber has an attenuation of 0.5 dB per kilometer. That is attenuation is given here. That is this one alpha. When operating at a wavelength of 1.3 micrometer, that is alpha is given. We can substitute here. With the core diameter 60 micrometer, D is given. Laser source bandwidth 600 megahertz, V is given. We can substitute. And he is asking you to compare threshold optical powers of SBS and SRS within the fiber at wavelength specified. So we got two formulas supporting for SBS and SRS. You can substitute, you can use the formulas, substitute here directly, use your calculator. You can see SBS threshold power is 80 milliwatt, whereas SRS is generating 1.3 watts. You can see its power is 3 times, more than 3 times than that of the SBS. That is clear from this numerical. Okay. So what we have discussed so far, today we discussed about two main factors responsible for the attenuation, what we discussed in the last class. Loss, that is the absorption loss, two types there, extrinsic and intrinsic losses, that we have discussed with respect to loss mechanism happening in the germanium silica graphs. Next, we have discussed about the scattering due to structural deformation. Again, there are two subtypes. Relay scattering, that is a linear scattering. Linear scattering only are types, relay scattering and Maya scattering. And non-linear scattering only again two types, SBS and SRS. Stop now.